I've just flown from Dubai to Bali after spending the last week out in Dubai for the very first time. So I want to give you my comparison today between the two and what my thoughts are on Dubai, considering I've spent 6 months to a year in Bali and have been traveling now for the past 3 years or so as a digital nomad of sorts. So, Dubai. Wow. It's what I expected in some ways, and it's really not what I expected in others. So let me just go outside so it doesn't echo so much. Okay. It is what people say it is, as well as being completely different. So there are obvious, crazy displays of wealth everywhere you look, which is really awesome. It raises the bar as to what is possible. You know, it resets expectations of where should I be aiming and what is it that I want to do. Because, quite interestingly, it's not all about the fast cars and all that sort of stuff. There's so much money that display of wealth kind of means nothing. Now, there are lots of fast cars, specifically loads of Lamborghinis, but that's not the sign of wealth whatsoever. Okay, then I'm going to go into some more comparison stuff. Bali, as everyone knows, digital nomad hotspot. Cafe culture and co-working here is huge. Probably the biggest place I've ever seen it anywhere in the world, and didn't know it could get any bigger. And Dubai, blew it out of the water. I was shocked. Everywhere people are working on their laptops. And the variety of people you see is so much more vast than in Bali. Like, it's very much fitness here, and coaching oriented, and it's not necessarily that around Dubai. And that does mean that I came across on one of my adventures to a co-working space. It was a place called 25 Hours, the single coolest co-working space I've ever been to, which, again, I wasn't expecting to find, and it was wicked. This is what I imagined my perfect university library to be like. You walk in, really good atmospheric lighting, books everywhere, glowing staircases, like books hidden into places to sit, so many different types of places to sit. An atmosphere that was nowhere near loud, but you could have a conversation without being overheard or feeling embarrassed. Really bizarre. Fantastic. Weather, interesting comparison. So Bali is 28 to 30 degrees all day, every day, all year round. But it's 80% humidity. So for Brits, that's really like 35. Like, it's just too hot. It's just a little bit too warm. Dubai right now, it's mid-Jan, is 25 at its peak, 19 in the evening. Like, you can walk around in shorts and a t-shirt, and maybe even a shirt like this at night, and as long as you're walking, it's fine. If you're sat down after a couple of hours, you're cold. But Dubai has perfect weather, in my opinion, for 6 months of the year. So that's between 25 and 32-ish. Day in, day out. It rains so little, whereas obviously Bali, right now, it's rainy season. But rainy season is nowhere near as bad as people think. It chucks it down and then it's beautiful. Okay, weather out of the way. Safety. This is an interesting one. So, if you've never been over to Southeast Asia, the people here are beautiful, they're lovely, warm-hearted, will go out of their way for no other benefit than to help a human. And I love that. The number of times I leave my keys in my bike or my phone in my bike and someone comes and gives it to me, like, that happens nowhere else around the world. And like, I blew a flat on my bike here last year, and immediately 3 people were there to help me, and one guy took about an hour and a half out of his day, gave me his bike to drive, and he was working. He was a Grab driver, so like an Uber driver back home, and he was working and stopped his work to help. And then when I tried to pay him, he was like, no, 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 like, don't you worry. We went to 4 different garages before we found one that was open. And he took my bike, 'cause he was like, oh, it's dangerous, like, you drive mine. So we did. And then even then, he just refused to, and I was like, no. And I put the money in his pocket, and I was like, thank you so much for your help. And I think I paid him, I think it was £5 or £10, and it blew his mind. And I was like, dude, thank you. This was so difficult. Like, I don't speak Bahasa past hi, hello, how are you? And so he did all the translating for us, and he was amazing. Anyway, Dubai, on the other hand, is just as lawful, and it was clean. It was great, super, super, super safe. But you hear stories of situations that are crazy. I'm not going to go into any details, but things that you're just like, that's in a movie. It's very underhand, black markety, and I'm assuming that's because the difference between the two places is the people here are just lovely people, and yeah, every society has its bad eggs, but the law is kept in order in Dubai by like draconian law enforcement, like a very strict punishment. And so you never see it, but it is still there. Whereas this is kind of the opposite. It's a corrupt place where the people are lovely. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. Yeah, what else? Cleanliness. Like perfect cleanliness in Dubai. Really beautiful, amazing walking facilities everywhere. All downtown was pristine, clean, super walkable, fantastic. Bali, on the other hand, very much not that, but actually arriving here today, it's much cleaner than I remember. To give it credit, it's heading in the right direction, and it's caring about that stuff. It's ecologically minded now, and all this sort of stuff. It's really heading in the right direction. The cost comparisons are, Dubai is pretty much the same cost as London. Right, any major city. It's not the cheapest place in the world, but to be honest, neither is Bali, because you end up living like a king, because you can, and it's so cheap, so you end up actually spending a similar amount of money. You know, we're not maybe talking 50% more in Dubai, something like that, for like what I would live at back home, than what I spend in Bali, because in Bali you just live like a king and do everything, so like, why not? I think those are my biggest differences between the place. Like, it was easy to meet people, there's loads of activities going on, they both have that going for them, and they're both very interesting places to come if you are looking to work and travel for very different things. I think it comes down to what circles you want to be in. Like, I think if you're mixing with the circles in Dubai, you're likely to make quite a lot more money, at the cost of learning like legitimate business, because there's lots of, you know, make quick cash stuff going on, which, don't get me wrong, you can make quick cash real quick, and it works for a lot of people, and you can create a legitimate business out of it, but you don't end up learning like legitimate business long-term skills. And that is the same to be said here for Bali. It's, you meet more of like influencers and info products, web designers, coaches, fitness people, and that has a similar edge, but it's more about influence, more about your audience. But I think your overall lifestyle, holistic, the type of person you become, I think likely will be better over here with the people you surround yourself with. But I definitely know of a lot of people that would come here, not make it, and be like, oh, I've just spent 6 months of my life enjoying it, but now I have to go back to reality. Whereas I think if you go to Dubai, I think it'll be less enjoying it, and still a significant number of people will go back and be like, I have to go back to reality because I didn't make it. But the goal will be more about making it, I think. And a bit harder to get sidetracked. Yeah. One other thing about Dubai, which I found very interesting, that was really quite different than my expectation, is it turns out it's quite a poor country with all of these crazy luxuries and wealth on the top of it. And you can tell that because amongst the supercars are the normal ones and the beat up cars. And McDonald's is a very good indicator of the true GDP of a country. And it's the cheapest McDonald's I've ever seen around the world. In Dubai, which I was really surprised by. Really surprised. And friends of ours just got a full-time nanny, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m, 5 days a week, for £800 a month in Dubai, which is, unheard of in the UK. And I think you would pay a very similar price to that here in Bali, for that same level of love and care and all that sort of stuff, which is fantastic. So I actually think the base cultures are a very similar wealth standard in terms of the average population of the natives, but obviously Dubai has had a much longer, more recent history of massive wealth being pumped into it, which is super, super obvious. So you also have the very expensive parts where you don't get those super expensive parts here in Bali. There you go, a massive list about my experience in Dubai. I liked it. I could definitely see myself going back. Would I live there? Probably not. I think it gets way too hot. It gets to, 48 degrees for 5 months of the year. Way too hot. But I definitely could see myself skipping January and February in the UK and going there and meeting up with friends. And I think it'd be a great place to go on holiday and to spend time and enjoy your successes if you have them. And it's very family friendly. Yeah. So those are my overall thoughts. If anyone has any thoughts that I have missed out on, or that you have that you'd like to add, I'd be really interested to hear other people's thoughts on the whole subject, because who knows which is best, right? It all depends on what's best for you. Alright guys, actually, all that being said, I'm going over to Australia next. I think that might be the peak. Alright guys, have a great one. Peace.